and have some questions, and we can find out what you want to know. But this is going to be a very organic training, because this is all about what you need and how to get started with Smart Learning Suite Online. I'm going to do a really quick introduction just so you know that we're no strangers off the street. And here's our information. So in it, you can either take a snapshot of this, write it down. Casey can put our information in the chat. If you have questions pertaining to what we're doing as I'm going through the different pieces of Smart Learning Suite Online, and you have a question, Casey is going to try to answer them in the chat, or she will kind of interject them while we're doing the training. Now, we have a very limited amount of time, like about 45 minutes. So let me just say right now that we're not going to get to everything. And I know you've had some exposure to Smart Learning Suite Online. My suggestion is that whatever grade level you are, and you see something that you're like, ooh, I think I want to try that on Monday, put it in your back pocket, and come up with at least 2 things that you're willing to take into action for next week. I'm hopefully going to show you a lot of different ways to give you some instructional ways, no matter what grade level. I hear we have some kinder teachers, first grade teachers, third grade teachers. Put it in the chat what we have, so we can make sure we meet your needs. Casey, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name's Casey Germanic, and like Jody said, I'm also Senior Professional Development Specialist with SMART, and I am from the classroom. So I taught for 20 years here in Texas before starting this job. I taught K-5 Gen Ed. I popped around, but most of my time in the general education classroom was focused on kinder, first and second. I was a primary teacher for a good majority of my time. And then the last 11 years as a gifted and talented specialist for kinder through fifth. I worked with a different grade level every day. I had third, fourth, and fifth for a whole day each week, and K1 and 2 for a half day each week. So I am happy to support you guys and answer your questions, and I'm excited to be here. And it looks like, Jody, we have a lot of K through 3 teachers and a 7th grade. I see some fourth grade teachers, couple 4th grade, 1 7th, and a lot of 1st and 2nd and 3rd.
Great. Yeah, and just so you know that my background is also elementary. I taught for over 32 years, and I kind of hopped around. I did everything. I mean, being in education for 32 years, you're bound to kind of do everything. I landed in a middle school, and then I was a student manager. Here in Portland, I teach at some universities here also, because I don't have enough to do. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. It's just one of those things I do. But I work with pre-K all the way up to high school, up to 12th grade at the university. So I have a big, between Casey and I, you're in good hands. So here's how I want our time together to go. So I want to show you from the student perspective what Smart Learning Suite looks like. And the best way to do that is if you open up a new tab, or if you have a second device. And I want you to go to hellosmart.com. Casey will put it in the chat. But we're going to go through and show you some different ways that you can really capitalize on the tools that we have in Smart Learning Suite Online, along with your existing content. I know that you guys are just kind of dabbling in it, but it is literally one of those things where you don't have to go and get a whole bunch of extra tools, have a whole bunch of tabs open. You can have your students live in a one-stop shop. You guys are Google, right? So you're Google users, and some of you, do you guys use Google Classroom? Okay, we integrate beautifully with Google Classroom. We are an asynchronous program. We're a synchronous program. We fit your needs no matter where you are in your learning environment. And then what I want to do is close with showing you how you can go get some files that are already created by teachers for teachers, and start using those and modifying the lessons that you have, along with anything you have in your Google Drive. So we kind of have a big chunk to kind of carve out in the next 45 minutes. So I really want to get you guys started. If you guys can see my screen over here, up in the left-hand corner, this is I'm in my Smart Learning Suite account. You're joining as if you're my students. And I'm going to actually join also. So I'm going to open up another window and I'm going to split my screen. So you're going to see the teacher side on one side, and then you're going to see what the student side looks like. So I'll be a student with you, if that's okay. So I went to hellosmart.com on my right-hand side. I am going to join as a guest. I'm entering my unique class code, which is 44720. Each of you will have your own unique code. You already have it if you've been in and done that. I'm going to be one of my favorite monsters, which is who's Seesaw. And I'm going to join as a guest. And I can see that I have about 14 students in my class. I can open up my class management tool. I can see all my favorite students right coming inside here. And you guys are fast. Way to go. All right, so what I want to do is I want to take you through some demo, a lesson that you potentially might be able to do with your students. And at any time, if you're like, how did she do that? How can I do that? Please put it in the chat, and then Casey will bring it forward or answer it in the group chat. And remember, the learning doesn't stop after we are done here. You have our email. So as you're starting your journey and you have questions, you can reach out to us. All right, let's have some fun, okay? Notice what happens on the teacher side and the student side. When I change the page, the student side changes and right synchronously together. So let's say we're doing this in class, or we're even in a remote setting, but I'm either in Google Meets or Zoom, just like we are here. What I want to do is I want to know who is with us today. So I know that PD is different for every single person, and it is Friday, and it is almost lunchtime. And so there's a lot of factors that go into a PD time. So when it comes to PD, what I want you to do in a minute, I want you to decide which animal do you relate to as in PD. So which animal are you? So are you like the owl, where you like to look at the bird's eye view and you like to see that big picture, and then you just kind of, fly around it. And then when you're ready to take it in, you pull it out in a couple more days, right? Or are you like the raccoon, where you come in like a bandit and you want to gather all that information and you just want to dig in and go? Or are you like a beaver, where it's like eager beaver, you're ready to build right now, like, hurry up, Jody, we've got to do this, I want to get it done? Or are you like a deer, right? Are you coming quietly, you're quiet, you're gentle, you're in observation mode, and when it's time, you'll take action when you're ready? So what I'm going to do right in front of you, I'm going to go ahead and change this into what is called a collaborative workspace. Now, a couple of things to point out right now, let me do this right now, is that on your side of things, you have no tools, right? So that's really beneficial as a teacher, because I wanted to give my instruction first. I don't want my students starting to click around and playing with it. I want to do all my direct instruction, and then I want to release the this page to them. So I can do this right here by going to a collaborative workspace, which is right at the very bottom, and you're looking on the left-hand side of my screen. And I can decide if I want all my students on different collaborative groups where they are working together on one page, synchronously, or I can have everybody in one team. And I love this because I can have all my students gather together, brainstorm, or whatever the situation is. So notice on your side, you now have a tool. Now see this little check mark? I want you to take that check mark and I want you to drag one check mark to what kind of learner are you when it comes to PD? Look at that, Casey.
Look at all those.
Like, we have a lot of eager beavers.
I'm an eager beaver. That's what I am.
Yeah,
I want to push some buttons and try some things.
You want to, and I want everybody to channel your inner first grader, kindergartner right now and go, what's that? What's that? What's that? Right? I want you to do that. So check this out. All right. So now what I can do is I can actually click. If you click on any of the check marks, you're going to get a little drop down menu. Let me go a little bit over here so you can see it. You get a little drop down. As a teacher, I know who's contributed. I see Megan's in here, and so I know who my students are. And I can now kind of direct my instruction according to who my students are in this activity. Now, the best thing about this activity is that this was a ready-made graphic organizer. It was already there. All I had to do is add the text and then the images, and then right here, that check mark, I call it keeping my real estate clean. Think about it with manipulatives, you guys. Think about that. Like if your students are at home and they don't have manipulatives, how cool is it that you can actually take anything you want? You could have a SpongeBob SquarePants, you can have a raccoon, you can have letters, you can make them infinitely cloned, and it keeps your real estate clean. Casey, do you want to add anything to this page?
Yeah, I would just say that one of the things I really like is that we can add those infinitely cloned objects, whether you are a first grade teacher that needs some digital manipulatives so that kids have equity from whether they're working at home or at school, or even right now, it's hard to clean manipulatives. So I can make Unifix cubes, or I can make the teddy bears, or I can make color tiles for my students to use. It's really great. And then for if I'm a seventh grade teacher or a sixth grade teacher, you can still use these infinitely cloned objects to check for understanding with your students, or to have your students annotate or take notes on something that they're reading. So there's so many uses for this, no matter what grade you're teaching, because you're really in control of where it makes sense. And you can actually layer infinitely cloned objects onto other content like PDFs too. So if I'm teaching multiplication and I want my kids to build an array, I can add an infinitely cloned object and have them build those arrays right on that PDF.
All right, so start thinking about it, because I'm going to show you how to do the infinite clone if you don't know how. Some of you probably are like, I already know how to do this. This is great. But just think about this. This was already a ready-made graphic organizer that is in Smart Learning Suite Online. I just went out, and with what we have safe search images. So all of the images that you can put on here are safe search. If you wanted your students, notice that on the student side, if you wanted your students to add an image, don't worry about it, because if you click on it, these are actually safe search. There's not going to be any questionable image that show up. So you have that right there. And for the older kids, they can go out and find their own. And maybe for the primary students, you already have some images on the page that they can choose from. And so you're helping them. And you could also infinite clone words and sentences, like sentence starters. You can infinite clone anything that you add onto your page. Does that ring a bell? Like, is that awesome that you can do that? Look, we have images showing up. I'm moving. Don't do it. No, I'm kidding. But remember, I know who you are. I'm not going to do that. All right. So just so you know, check this out. What happened to your screen? I moved you off. So you're still in teacher pace. And so today what I want to share with you is that we're actually going to kind of go right here. So you are using your Google Drive, and I'm going to show you that that's what I started with too. I'm going to actually show you where you can go and find content that's already ready that you can just modify and make it your own. We're going to talk about that game-based learning activity. You've already seen the ready made graphic organizers, but I want to take you through that. Also, we have audio. Audio is huge. It is so important now, and we have it, and it is amazing. So we're going to show you that. Also, how do we deliver it to our students? Like if we're in the classroom or in a remote setting, we need to get our students connected no matter what. So, and that's what you just did with me. You're my students in my class. I asked you to go to Hello Smart. If I wanted to, I could have put this link to this file for my students inside my class management tool like Google Classroom, and my students could have that home to school connection. And we're going to show you some awesome things for Shout It Out. It's a wonderful activity that really helps you get some real-time feedback from your students. And what I just shared with you is how to convert into an individual handout, into a collaborative workspace, but I'm also going to show you the power and the potential behind the individual handout. And of course, here's the thing. You're doing all these really wonderful things. You probably have colleagues that, you're like, hey, let's kind of team up and you do this file, I do this file. And now how do we share it with each other? So I'm going to share how you can do a student link. So that's kind of what we're going to do in a nutshell. And it's going to be integrated, all of these together. And I want to just show you in a demo lesson what that might look like. So now what I want to share with you is this was an original PDF that I had in my Google Slides, and I brought it in to Smart Learning Suite Online. Now, I want to talk to my students about, about words and how important and influential things can happen in our lifetime. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to, instead of having everyone in one workspace, I am going to create, let's do 6 groups. It'll automatically sort my students automatically. I love that pressure is off me as a teacher, and I go, hey, it wasn't me. But if I look at my list here, I'm going to go, you know what, Jenny, I really need you in team 5, and Kat, I'm going to put you over here. So in the end, the teacher has the ability to change the groups. And once I start the workspace, you'll get these little bubbles as you go through. If you see this, these are little navigation bubbles that kind of help you know what to do if you're brand new in Smart Learning Suite Online. Once you know you can, you have it, you can go ahead and click out of it. Now check this out. We're not going to spend much time on this page, but I want you just to play with the tools that are on the left-hand side. So let's say we just put maybe a picture of something, maybe some rocks, or you have this quote right here, and you're just wanting to have our students do that anticipatory, or you're trying to hook your students into the new unit of study. So if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. What would that look like? What would that sound like? Is there an image you can find? Spark learning with your students by hooking them in. And did you see that I could give direct instruction? Then I turned it into a hand or a workspace. So go ahead and play with the buttons. You have a pin button, eraser, you have an image, and then you have a text. As a teacher, check this out. As a teacher, I can drop into any of my workspaces at any time. So I can go into team 1, see how they're doing. I can actually leave them a comment. I can put a digital sticker on here. And how I do that is I just go into the same tab the students do. I've already got some images saved. I'm going to go into my pictures. And I love that I can either go to my Google Drive or anything that's on my device. And I'm going to please add more details. Now the students are going to know it's me, because if they click on it, they're going to see that it was from the teacher. So I can go ahead and I can toggle right up here, see what's going on. Has anybody tried the pen tool and the thicknesses? Now I want to point out a hidden treasure here. Check this out. Watch this. I haven't told you about it yet, and the students probably haven't done it. But do you see this little heart right here in the middle? If you click on the little heart, maybe you agree it's an infinite clone. And so students now can do some evaluations and critical thinking and tell a classmate, I really like what you wrote. I love what you did. As a teacher, I can go through each one, give them some real-time feedback. Oh, check. I love this tree. I'm going to put hearts on your tree. Let's see. Who is so creative? Annette, you win today. I'm going to give you a digital sticker. Yeah, let's do the yes. There you go. So you can see how you can have collaborative groups all together. Are there any questions about the collaborative groups and the infinite cloner?
I don't see any in the chat.
All right, anybody?
If you have team or groups that you like, say it, you've fixed them up the first time, is there a way to save that? So that your groupings, you can just say, okay, my go-to grouping is.
I love that. So at this time, that is not one of our go-tos yet, but I know it's on a roadmap that you're going to be able to roster students in there. That is such a great idea. We'll remember to write that one down. I love that. But yeah, at this time, there's not a way to do that. Yeah. Okay. All right, we're going to move on. So I know some of you, how many of you raise your hand? I can see that how many of you played with the games? Has anybody played with any of the games? Couple, oh yeah, go like this a little. All right, so of course we know that games are really powerful and have a really big impact on student, and of course they're fun. And I had that first page, which was the that the one we just did with the quote on the middle of it. But now what I want to do is I really want my students to reinforce vocabulary. And I don't care what grade level you are, building vocabulary is always a process and a constant kind of reevaluation. And the games are a really great place to do that. But also, this is a way for our students to kind of build self-efficacy. And the fact that if you push your start button, and I'm going to go to my right side of my screen, if you push the start button, you'll notice that it doesn't interfere with anybody else's. And so students are literally playing this on their own. So if I was a student who really was having a hard time, and it took me a little bit, and maybe I was just a little bit, I just am very thoughtful in my process, and I wanted to, I would want to have the time I need. And I don't want anybody else to kind of rush me through it. The best part about doing these games, let's say we're doing bold, let's see, I can decide as a teacher how I want to give this information. I can choose the theme, the background. So those middle school teachers, if you're upper grade, don't worry about the backgrounds. You can actually create some of them. You can put your own content, your own images in. So if you're learning about healthy foods, you can, put a background maybe of some healthy foods. We have a game for everybody. And I just want you to know, primary teachers, you can add images. You can add images, you can add words. So like maybe you have an image of, how to get dressed in the morning, and maybe you want to put it with the word, this is a coat, and then you want the word coat. You can add an image and you can add the word. So you're not stuck with just reading the text, all right? The best part about this is that as I go through, I'm going to go through and I am just going to put it together, and students go through, put it on here. And if you even drag it over, it'll do it together. It'll actually tell me if I got it right, if I got it wrong, which ones I got. I can review. Looks like I got them all right. I can go ahead and reset. But here's the other thing I want to share with you. Do you see that little audio up here? I can give audio on, and I can put audio on all my pages. So maybe this was like, I want you to play the game, but then when you're finished, I want you to draw a picture in your interactive notebook about one of the two words that you see. Or I want you to add another synonym to that word. Let's build our vocabulary together, and we'll share the words tomorrow. So you can have audio on any of your pages, and that's huge. Okay, and any questions on that?
I don't see any in the chat. I would just say that these games are all able to be personalized to meet the needs of your students. So you can make some that are very specific to individual students. So if you need them to review some things for IEPs, or if they're just struggling with things, you really are in charge of what you're building, so that you can make sure that you're doing what you need for each of your kiddos.
I love that, right? So, and there's 11 different games, and they're all online. So one of the other things, I've already shared with you a graphic organizer, but I want to just show you another way to do this. Again, we just added the text on this. And so let's say that we're all, working on our one word, that word that's going to empower us. And we're looking at, how do we make this word really stick? So this is actually one of our graphic organizers. And again, I added audio on here. Notice you have no tools on the student side. So as a teacher, I want to give you some direct instruction, kind of show you what you're going to do. And now that we have that, I'm going to go ahead and convert it into an individual handout. Just like before, go ahead. I want you to click start on your side. Take a look at my screen. Notice the teacher side. Anytime a student clicks start, it shows up on my teacher side. And so now I know, and let's say, I don't see Joy in there, and I'm like, I know Joy was in class, so I want to know, why Joy isn't there. That might be a discussion I have, but I can see all of my students in there together. And again, just like the collaborative workspaces, I can drop in to each one of my students to see how they're doing, give them real-time feedback. And by the way, because this is web-based, it is saving. So I don't have to worry about saving anything. And if our, and I heard Alicia say that your students are at school in the morning synchronously, and then maybe in the afternoon, they need to do some asynchronous activities. Let's say you start this in the morning with your class, some sort of activity, and again, you can add images on this page. And then you can add this lesson inside your learning management. Students can pick it up at home again, and really support students wherever they're at. All right. Anything else said? And again, of course, we have audio on here just because, we can't go home with our students. Let our students hear.
Will you show them how to for if you have sound on the games, that can be a little bit distracting.
Oh, you mean like turn off the sound?
Mm-hmm.
So up here, so if you're on the side and you're hearing the sound, if you go up to your tab, let me move see if I can do this. I got to move that over. If you go up to your tab, the tab that has the sound open, and you go down, you can actually mute your site. Yeah, that's like a little thing that makes a game changer, right? Because a lot of the games have sound, and it's great for about like 5 seconds. So if you just one more time, so you might want to show your students, or you can turn yours off. Mine's off all the time. If I click on right click, I just say no sound. Is that helpful? That help? Okay, cool. All right, so I've kind of taken you through a couple different things with your students, right? So what I want to share with you is I want to show you how on the fly, I'm in presentation mode. And let's say, I know this happens quite often when I was in the classroom where I was like, oh, I need a blank whiteboard space and I don't have it here. And I don't want to go out to Jamboard and I don't want to go into another tab. I wanted to live all in my same workflow. On the side of the teachers, right before you get to the bottom above the navigation arrows, you have a little plus sign. If you click on it, you have 2 options. The first option is a whiteboard space. So if I go right into the whiteboard space, check this out. I have a new whiteboard space. I have my tools right over here. I can go ahead and start my T-chart or brainstorming. But let's do this. I want my students to think about what was their one word. I want to hear about your one word. So just play with me here. I'm going to actually change it into a collaborative workspace. I want everyone on the same team, and I want everyone to share what their one word would be. Or maybe I would say, all right, we're going to play a little game. I want you to tell me about the multiplications or multiples of 5. Ready, go. Go ahead and write them down. I could do that too. So on your side, go ahead and you'll get a little text box. Once you click on the A, you can change the color. You can change the size. You can do that afterwards too. And by the way, mine is Joy this year. Cat. One of our colleagues has a little 5-year-old son and his word is dinosaur. But I can think of a whole bunch of analogies to go with that, right? Again, as the teacher, I can drop in and I can see Sally's word is cat. Jenna's word, Jenna, can you share with us why, and so look what I can do with a collaborative or with a plain whiteboard. Casey, you're so good at the whiteboard. What are some other ideas?
Oh, I love to have, it's just, I think about it just as you would use like a regular whiteboard that you would pass around to your kids with expo markers and stuff and have them share an answer and then erase and then share an answer and erase. You can reset your page over and over and over again, but it's a great place you can have your kids do. I want you to find an emoji to show how you're feeling about your learning. It'll give you you can have do like a thumbs up, thumbs down. You can say, I want you to write 1 to 5, how you're feeling about your learning. There's so many different ways.
Awesome. Share in the chat how you can use this, because that's really what's really cool about it, is that you don't need to have those physical whiteboards for students anymore. You have it right here. And if I wanted to, I could have gone out over here on the teacher side. I could have put some Post-it notes on here. Students could, take a Post-it note, duplicate it, and have their own Post-it note on here. I love that you guys are doing this. Look at, we even have Bitmojis on here. That's awesome. Let's see.
Jackie
I love
said
yours.
write a number with 3 in the tens place. I like it. Yeah. So any of those types of things that you would ask your kids and they would normally do like on a regular whiteboard, now you can do it on a space like this. And we're doing it as a shared space, which is really fun because you'd have all different kids sharing different ways that you could have a 3 in the tens place, right? There's a lot of different options. But you can also do this where it's an individual handout where each of your students have their own copies so that you can do it as a quick formative assessment and see how kids are doing too.
I love that. So the power of the blank page, but I want to point out one more thing underneath here. This is called a shout it out activity. I'm not going to do this shout it out activity. I'm actually going to do one at the very end to show you what it looks like. But if you haven't had an opportunity to use a shout it out activity, it is the best way to get instant feedback with your students. And so you could have it as a brainstorming. So you have options here to do that. All right, I'm going to move off this page. Now, let me point out, remember, this whole time you've been in teacher pacing. At any time, let's say I deliver the lesson, I've got my kids started, they know what they're doing, they're now in their learning experiences. I can change it from teacher pacing to student pacing. And now on the student side, it says you can go to any page in this lesson now. So me as a student, if there was a YouTube video in here, by the way, YouTube videos are safe search, commercial free. They live inside this lesson. I could go back to that YouTube video and watch it, pause it, think about it, take notes, watch it, pause it, watch it again, make sure I got all the information. And maybe my classmate Casey is going back and playing the game to reinforce her vocabulary. But notice the teacher side of things over here, I can now navigate to any of my pages I want to work on. And then what's brilliant is that here I am. I'm like, all right, you guys, you got 10 minutes to go and finish up one of your activities, maybe go play the game, but I want to pull you back in. So 10 minutes goes by and I'm going to put it right here. And now I go back and bam, you're back with me. You have that one student who goes, wait a minute, one more minute, wait, just one more minute. And you're like, oh, okay. And then you can actually pull them back in at any time. All right. So now that we kind of have seen a little bit and sparked your curiosity, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so many powerful tools that we aren't going to have time to show you, but I want to make your job easier. I don't want you to reinvent the wheel. So what I want to do is I'm going to actually go full screen, and you guys would like to see mine. Casey will put it in the chat. And I know I'm going to lose you because everybody's going to go, oh, look at this. If you're using Teacher Pay Teacher, I don't know if you guys use anything from Teacher Pay Teacher, but at no time should you ever be paying for any smart notebook files. Okay. So anything that you find that is a smart notebook file, please don't pay for it. Don't do it, because we already have, and I'm going to enlarge this. I'm going to go to a new tab. We have a site that has curated activities that are created by teachers all over the world. So we have French speaking in here. We have kinders. And so this is our resource. Okay. And I'm going to show you another one in just a second that's embedded in Smart Learning Suite Online. So if you're looking for anything that has to do with, let's say, growth mindset, just go ahead and put it in the search. Notice over here on the left-hand side, you have all sorts. You can actually say, oh, I want pre-kinder, I want kinder, first grade, more. I want it for art, music, I want it for health, PE, I want it for science. Once you have those, you'll notice that you have a whole bunch of different activities. Now, I'm going to give you the caveat. None of them are perfect, and none of them are going to be exactly what you want. But what you can do is you can modify them, you can delete them, you can change them, you can make them more rigorous, you can align them to your standards, but you don't have to start from scratch. So if I go here to growth mindset, it's going to open up and I can actually go through it and see what's going on. There's some activities right here. And I'm like, that might be it. I want to point out something. So everybody look at my screen. Right here, this is very important because if I want to share it to my Smart Learning Suite online, it's going to go directly into my homepage on the web. Okay, so I can do that and it will go directly into my homepage. So if I click that, it's going to open up my Smart Learning Suite online and it's going to populate and it's going to open up in editing mode so you can take a look at it. And if you don't want a page, so it's right. Let's see if it's going to do it. It's coming in. It's still, I saw it. I clicked too soon. Let's do it. But once it's in there, I can decide. There it is. So I'm in my home page right now and I see it right here and I can go ahead and click edit. It's going to open up into an editing mode. And I'm like, I really like this, but I don't need the teacher page. Let me see what's going on. It has an already embedded YouTube video. Remember, it's embedded. It doesn't go out to YouTube. I don't get any commercials. It's not questionable. It's all living in one workflow. And if I like this, I can change this up. Maybe instead of growth mindset, I don't want these images here. Maybe I want to add some, sorry, I don't want the text here. Maybe I want to add some images. I could do that. So back to Smart Exchange. You can find any lesson to start your learning, and we always have some featured content going on right here. I want to point out another thing. Let me just go to this Valentine's one. If you are a Smart Notebook user, and Smart Notebook is the software that lives on your device, you can also download it from Smart Exchange. And now it lives on your device. You can upload that into your Google Drive and then upload it into your Smart Learning Suite online. So if I go in to my Google Drive, okay, and I find a lesson that I want, it could be a Smart Notebook lesson, it could be a PowerPoint, it could be a PDF. Notice right here, I have a PDF. I can actually right click on it. And if I go a second down to open, right here is Smart Learning Suite Online. I can import it directly from my Google Drive. So I say put everything in your Google Drive. Put your notebooks in there, put your PDFs in there, your PowerPoints. Of course, you have your Google Slides, your Google Docs, everything in your Google Drive, because you can integrate it and upload it into Smart Learning Suite Online. You're going to want to go back and watch this part of the video because I am going really fast. And so here's my PDFs right here. Now, Casey mentioned earlier, and these are pretty static. So I want to layer them with some activities, right? And, that's a lot. And I know that, this is for the upper grade. So like if you want to bring in some of your passages, but you know what, there's nothing, what I want to do is I want my students to interact. I can actually go into my images or go into Bing search. I'm going to go in and do a check mark. This is a safe search. Perfect. I'm going to put it on my document here. I'm going to resize it, put it right here. And now what I want to do is, as my students are highlighting and underlining important details or numbering their paragraphs so they can mark their text up, I can then say, I want you to check mark what you agree with or what you want to remember when we share this information, because that's really what I want them to do. I want them to construct their own meaning. So I can make this into an infinite clone. Check this out. There's an infinity sign. Now this page is ready to go. I'm ready to go. And remember how I converted into a handout or a collaborative workspace while I was presenting? I prefer to do that because as a teacher, there's times where in my head, I think it's going to go this way in a lesson. And then there's times where it never goes the way I think. And I'm like, oh man, that didn't go the way I wanted it. You know what? I thought I was going to send it out to everybody as a handout, but you know what? I really feel like kids need to actually have some brain power together. So my students, I want to make it a collaborative workspace instead of a handout. So I like to change it while I'm in the moment. But maybe there's some of us that like to go, I want my lesson ready to go and I don't want to worry about it. So I'm in editing mode right now, and I can actually convert this on the fly right inside my editing mode into a handout or a collaborative workspace. So if I said, I want this as a handout, I can rename it. And I can do that. And then if I need to, I can go back and edit if I need it. So I can preview it, which it looks just like what I did. And I'm like ready to go. But let's say I want to add something to this. So this is just static. Down here in editing mode, I can click that blue button and I have all of these different things I can add. Here's my games. There are 11 of them. Notice that if I click on this preview button, I have a little simulation. I can go into the memory match, see what that looks like. And I can add some games inside. So now I'm layering the students' learning. Here's my YouTube. Now, maybe I want to do what is called a shout it out. And again, that's how we're going to end today. I can do that. Or if I want to collect data with my students, I can use this response, which also can be a poll, an opinion, a multiple choice, and I can collect the data and add it to my grade book. So this is very powerful in here. So this is huge. But for you pre-K, first grade, second grade, primary teachers, we have these manipulatives inside here that are already ready. That all you have to do, so let's say I'm going to have my students make some words. I click on it, and maybe after they read, I can move this down. I can have it go. Now my students have a way to do infinite clones. So maybe they have to come up with a whole bunch of different words besides kindness. What's another word for kindness? Or maybe qualities of a friend. Will you write out the words that have quality of a friend? Or maybe you want them to do an acrostic poem and you're going to put the word kindness. So all they have to do, and I'm just showing you here, you get the idea. Casey, do you have anything to add?
So I would just say that all of these are customizable. So Kaylee asked a question, can you delete letters? And you can, because you can actually choose to stop a letter from being infinitely cloned, and then you can choose to delete a letter as well. So at the bottom of the screen, if you look at the bottom where Jody is, those letters are automatically infinitely cloned for us so that we can save time. But if she clicks on one of those letters, like
One
the
of these?
Z, yeah, click on, no, don't actually move it, Jody. Actually,
sorry.
down at the bottom, if you'll touch one of the letters at the bottom. Touch one of the letters. Okay, she can actually, should be able to, or
I know, it's not showing the infinite clone.
Oh, it used to be able to, yeah. So I need to check on that, but you used to be able to actually customize it even more.
Yeah.
We do have some, so I know that I've added one to our content showcase that says letters, and it has just circular letters, and that one would be fully customizable. You could be able to delete whatever letters are in place, and it is in the content showcase in the resources in SLSO. So if you click on the resources,
yeah,
and you go
let me show that in just a second. Yeah. Okay, before I leave this page, a couple things down in the bottom right left corner. There's your audio. So if you want to add audio to this page, and you also can add text up here. So, you know, you can put whatever you want. You can put directions. You can do so many things, but you didn't have to start from scratch. All right. So I brought in some existing content. I layered it with some interactivity. I could have done YouTube. I could add more to this, but it all can build upon each other. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to finish it. Go
Jody,
back to,
and let me just get quick before I
Yeah.
answer a question. Is this group of teachers, are you guys using Smart Learning Suite through your Google Drive? Yes. Okay, so if you guys are using Smart Learning Suite through your Google Drive, one of the questions was, is there a way to organize? I have all these activities I am building. Now, if Jody scrolls up, Jody, go back to your dashboard really quickly. if she scrolls up to her dashboard, she has tons of lessons. I do too. Like if she starts scrolling, that can be a little bit difficult to navigate. But because Jody's using Google Innovation just like I do, actually all of my lessons that I build are saved in my Google Drive and accessible in my Google Drive. So I can put my lessons in whatever folder I want. And so instead of going to new, more, and getting to my dashboard, if I have a lesson saved in my drive, I can go to that folder and navigate that way.
Right, and you can just, so think about conceptually how you already use Google Drive. If you already know how to do it, that's exactly the same process as what you're going to do. You know, if you want to double click on it and open it, you can do that. Now, I'm going to show you what it looks like if you convert something. Now, that PDF, that Science of Kindness, that PDF that I had before, it's not going to interfere. Your PDF is going to stay original, but it's going to make a copy and make it into a Smart Learning Suite. Notice that the icon changes, right? So you can see that this is what the icon would look like once you change it into a Smart Learning Suite online. All right, I want to just kind of do two more things before we go. This is inside my Google or inside my Smart Learning Suite online homepage. I want to point out a couple really valuable tools. First of all, so let's say you're just going to say, you know, remember at the beginning I said just think about two things you want to do at the very beginning. Here's where you can start. You can start adding activities to kind of supercharge. Here are all your choices in here. Maybe you just want to make a whole bunch of files of, you know, letter recognition, maybe lowercase, uppercase, or maybe you want to do multiples of 5 or all the multiples and you want to create different games. You can start there. We have this site. These never change up here. So you can go to the training site and it will take you through. It's already embedded. You don't have to go out. It's right here. It gives you videos. It shows you how to. It talks teacher language. This is for anybody who wants bite-sized learning and you just want to go, all right, I'm ready to go to the next step. Oh, how do I get started? Well, remember, I started with an existing content. You can start with a YouTube video, start with a new page, a graphic organizer, but you can go there. The other button I want to share with you, I took you out to Smart Exchange. That has a repository of thousands and thousands of lessons. But where we are shifting our content to in the near future is going to be that once you are in your homepage in Smart Learning Suite Online, you won't have to go out to Smart Exchange. It's all going to be in one click in one ecosystem. So you don't have to worry about going, oh, look at all my tabs I have open. If you click on Explore Resources, here is another avenue for you to get some resources. So these are collections, and I'm happy to say that Casey and I are helping to, you know, curate the list here. We just launched this like a few days ago, you guys, a few days ago. So this is our infant, and it's going to get bigger and better and more robust. But if you scroll down, you can see that there are different activities. And again, if you just click right here, let's do.
We'll go down to phonics, Jody, because since we had that question about editing, making words. So go down to phonics and sight words.
Yeah, right here. Here's a whole repository of phonics and sight words.
Click on the see more for phonics and sight words. And see the letter tiles, guys? That is one that I made. So that is one where you'll be able to click on a letter and actually choose to delete it or infinitely clone it, anything along those lines too.
So here's the thing, you're well taken care of. You have so many options in here. You have Smart Exchange, you have your Google Drive with all your content, you have your homepage, you have the collections with the resources built in. You're in good hands, all right? So I wanna give you one more thing to do. I'm gonna go back to my homepage and I'm gonna start this lesson. Let's get rid of this. I'm going to close up some of my tabs so that you don't see so many. And my last activity with you is going to be a shout it out. And shout it out is a place where you can get some real-time feedback, like an exit ticket, an entry ticket. Maybe you're looking for, you know, you want to capture insight into your student learning, or maybe you want to ignite that engagement. So what I'm going to do is, you'll see that it's going to change. And if I go back to and I'm going to start this activity, you should see your side change. See, I have my, let me move this over so you can see. Your side looks like a little response. And you can see on the teacher side, it says, what are you most excited to try? You can go ahead and put your response in there. I remember thinking about 2 things you can take and start using next week. And I want to hear from you. So what are you most excited about to try? And notice it shows up on my side of the board. I could be in the classroom and doing this, and I can be projecting it up onto a board or a whiteboard space because my screen looks a little different. I can actually click on it and go through it. All the ready-made, oh my gosh, that's a great place to start. Your ready-made resources, right? Taking and modifying some of them. Yeah, and start building. Remember, you can add text to most of those ready-made and also on the manipulatives. Just explore, channel that inner kindergartner. Game-based activities, uploading all your notebook files, you guys, put them in your Google Drive. Oh my gosh. And then put them into Smart Learning Suite Online, because now your students can own the learning. You don't have to own the learning anymore. Let your students interact with all the wonderful things that you've created. Yes, working together is awesome. And I also could change and turn off names. So at any time, if I wanted to, I can, in my shout it out, I can turn off names. So if I ask a critical question that might be a little questionable for students and maybe a little uncomfortable, but I need to get to the bottom of it, or I don't, like, what's one thing that you struggled with today that you need help with tomorrow? I can have my students add that to it, and no one will know who it is. And for your primary teachers, students could add images here. So you could say, you could have students add their images here. Like, or hey, I want to check in and say, what did you get for number 13? And shout it out. And you can have backgrounds. So you can customize your background according to what you want your students to see. As you can see, I'm so excited. This has been really helpful. I appreciate your time. And Casey, is there anything else before I give the resources?
I don't, if you can, I've been putting the resources in the chat already, but one thing I thought, if you could quickly share with them, there was a question about where do I see my students work? And then there was a side question. If I do a lesson with a few small groups, will my students' work keep seeing it?
The students that are in the group?
If I do a small group, like if I have one group join my class and then later I have another group join my class, will all their work be there? Will it override other work?
Right. So that's a really great question. So you can create these into small groups. My recommendation at this time is to, you can copy your files. So like I can go up here to the little hamburger and I can actually make a copy. And what I would always recommend for people is once you get your file the way you want it before you send it out to students the first time, make a copy of it and then identify the one that's your original. So that way you don't have to keep going back and, and doing something new to it. But when it comes to small groups, if your students are signing in, remember how you added, I had you join hellosmart.com up here. I had you join hellosmart.com. That's how your students would do it. And then they would enter your code. If you want to do small groups, I would recommend having 2 different files. Do you have any other recommendations, Casey?
Well, it depends. Like if you're doing a small group, let's say I'm working with the same 24 kids in my class. So I'm self-contained, I have first graders, and I'm going to work with like during my reading group, and maybe I'm going to do an activity, I'm going to do it with all of my kids.
You can do it that way. Yeah.
I might have just my first 5 kids are going to join my lesson work. Then when they go away, I'm going to have another 5 kids join that same lesson because I do want all 24 kids work in that same space. Now, if I'm doing something where I'm going to have different groups or different classes or things like that, then I might want to have multiple copies. But if eventually I want all the kids to do the same lesson, even small group at a small group, then I'm going to have them join the same lesson.
And the other thing is that remember, I had you all join as guests. And there is an option to have your students join with their school credentials. And that is really helpful because then it's kind of like they're key to your lesson. And that way they can actually join your lesson. You also have the ability when you're in your class management tool, if you're like, you know what, Alicia, this isn't your time, or I don't need you in the class anymore, I can actually go up and edit and I can delete the students I don't want to be in there at that time. So you do have a lot of possibilities and you can play with it. Casey, did you want to add one more thing?
I was just going to say there's a question about, can I share this with other teachers? And the answer is
That's
yes.
the very last
Exactly.
one. Absolutely. Now you can share a link within your Google Drive, just like you do in your Google Drive. You can just right click and then share a link. That's the easiest way. But let's say you're already in your Smart Learning Suite online and I'm like, I want to share this right now. You go up to that hamburger again, you click on it and notice that there's a share link right here. If you click, you're going to get a window that looks like this. The top one is, I want to give a copy of this lesson to my colleague. I can copy that, put it wherever I want, put it in an email. Maybe you have a repository in a spreadsheet in Google you want to add your lessons to, so you can keep them going with your teammates. You could add that link to a spreadsheet, to a Google Doc, whatever. Here is where you can get a link for students. It is a different link. It's a different access, different permissions for students. You can copy that. You can place it inside your Google Drive or your Google Classroom. There's all, and also there's another way, and I'll send you the resource on how you can start within your Google Drive and then add a link within your Google Drive. We work perfectly with your Google Drive. So there's so many things, and unfortunately in 45 minutes, I know we've already gone over. I want to make sure I honor your time. There's a lot, but the best part about it is that you have Casey and I, and Alicia, you have Alec. I mean, we've got enough. I'll send a follow-up email later today. This is the lesson that we did today. It's yours. It's a teacher link. Feel free to have this lesson, modify it. But every week we also have webinars that we hold for North America. And it's like getting started with Smart Learning Suite Online. If you're a Google user, we have one for you. How do you create digital manipulatives? This next week is getting started with Smart Notebook. If you're not someone who has started, you can learn how to do that. But Casey, I think, will be on that one. You'll see a familiar face, but we really want you to be successful, take baby steps, and you're on your way. So thank you for joining. And Casey's putting all the information. There is a survey link that, Casey, if you could drop it in the chat.
I'm going to put that in there right quick.
And Alicia, I'll share the survey information with you. Really what it is what do you need from us? And there will be the recording. You guys are in good hands.